Hello and welcome to Live Parkinson's, Live an Exceptional Life. I'm your host, Chris Custenbotter, and I've been living an exceptional life with Parkinson's for the past 14 years. The mission of this podcast is to help as many people as possible living with Parkinson's to live a great quality of life. Today's topic is building your support network, tips for caregivers and families. Imagine waking up each morning with a body that won't quite cooperate. Your muscles feel stiff, your hand is shaking, and even the simplest tasks are a struggle. As my Parkinson's disease progresses, I find these days becoming more common. Ever since my diagnosis, I tried to do it alone, believing I had to show that I was strong, that I didn't need help. I wanted to feel independent and not be a burden on friends or family. Then, I was starting to struggle with the household tasks, like mowing the lawn, fixing things around the house, and doing things that required fine motor skills. Now, if I wasn't struggling, it took me at least 2 times as long to do the tasks that I set out to do, or I would have trouble remembering to do the things that I was supposed to do. It was at this point that I needed to make a change. I couldn't, quote, go it alone anymore. I needed a network of support. I had to throw my pride out the window because I realized I was frustrating my wife and family because I wanted to do it alone. If you're a person with Parkinson's and my story sounds familiar, or if you care for someone with Parkinson's, then join me on this podcast. In this episode, we're going to dive deep into building the right support network, and that can help transform your day-to-day life and give you back the power to live life on your own terms. Now, here's a roadmap of what we'll be covering in this episode. We'll lead it off with understanding the role of a caregiver, and we'll discuss the caregiver's role in providing both an emotional and physical support. And then we'll highlight some of the challenges that caregivers face. And then we'll finish it off with why a support network is crucial for both the person with Parkinson's and for caregivers. Next, we'll discuss identifying your support network, including your family and friends, healthcare professionals, and community resources. Then once we've identified and built our support network, we'll explore how to effectively communicate within the network, including tips for open and honest communication with your team. We'll also discuss strategies for handling difficult conversations about care needs, and that oftentimes includes finances and long-term planning. Next, we'll discuss self-care and mental health care for caregivers and explore leveraging technology and tools for support. We'll discuss apps and tools designed to help manage caregiving tasks, medication schedules, and appointments. And then as we round it out, we'll discuss overcoming challenges and building a support network, and then provide some practical tips and takeaways. So if you're ready to build your support network, then join me as we try to help everyone have their best quality of life. Now, as I mentioned in the opening, after my Parkinson's diagnosis, I was determined to do things myself and not be a burden on my family and friends. Well, that held up early, but as the years have passed and Parkinson's progresses, I was finding it more difficult to do things, and my struggles were taking a toll on my wife. I didn't necessarily think so, but then after discussions, I realized it was time for us to get some help. Then we sat down and began to build a support network. Honestly, it was the best thing I could have done in my Parkinson's journey. The burden on my wife is a lot less, and I've learned to appreciate the help everyone provides. So let's start out the discussion with the balancing act, the caregiver's role in Parkinson's. So what exactly is a caregiver and what role do they play? Well, a caregiver is a person who plays a pivotal role in their loved one's life. They provide both emotional and physical support. It's definitely a difficult, demanding role, and it often requires a delicate balance between meeting the patient's needs and maintaining their own well-being. Because a lot of times what happens is it's more taking care of the person with Parkinson's, and they get little time to themselves. So what type of emotional support can caregivers provide? Well, believe it or not, they play what I like to say is both a healthcare professional role and a therapist role. They empathize with the challenges that the person with Parkinson's are facing, which can include physical limitations, emotional fluctuations, and cognitive changes. And then they can act as a therapist by listening and validating the person's feelings and help the person with Parkinson's to feel supported. They also wear additional hats as well, and one of those is as advocates. They advocate for their loved ones' needs with healthcare providers, insurance companies, and in helping to get community resources. Now, my wife Mary comes with me to every visit to the movement disorder specialist. She shares what she sees with the doctor, which may be things that I didn't notice myself. She also takes notes and also helps me in the decision-making process when my doctor and I are trying to decide on a course of treatment based on the results of the visit and the experiences I shared about my daily symptoms and challenges. Now, I've recently had issue with getting a prescription approved so that it wasn't going to cost me $1,200 a month. My wife Mary fought like a bulldog to help me get it approved, and it was. So now I'm able to get it at more of a copay cost. So advocacy is part of the emotional support that they play. All right, so what other roles do they play in terms of helping to support the person with Parkinson's? Probably the biggest two are assistance with activities of daily living, or ADLs, and medication management. Now, in terms of assisting with activities of daily living, so what are those? Those are things like helping with dressing, bathing, showering, transferring, getting in and out of chairs, mobility. So it incorporates a lot of the things that you do on a daily basis. So they're going to help you with, caregivers are going to help with those daily tasks, such as helping you get dressed or helping you with bathing. Maybe you get to the point where your tremors are so bad you have trouble eating or swallowing. So they're going to help you with that, and mobility. Now, they often take charge in getting their loved ones to appointments, getting them to exercise classes, and social activities. The next major role they play is medication management. They help ensure that their loved one with Parkinson's are taking their medicine as prescribed and at the right times to help their loved one manage their symptoms. Now, my wife Mary helped me get set up with a program through the local pharmacy that puts my medication in pill packs, or they also call them bubble packs. And because I take medication 5 times a day, they come in 5 sealed blister packs in a line. And each blister pack has the medication, the dosage, and the timing on each, listed on each of the packs. So I'll have one for morning, mid-morning, noon, afternoon, and bedtime. And each medicine I'm required to take at the specified time is in the specific pill pack, which is labeled with the time, the medication, and their strength. And then each pack comes with 7 of those 5-weld strips, which ends up being a week's worth of, so each 5-weld dose is a day, and then I get 7 of those, so that's a week's worth of medicine. Now, I think it's a great option, and I highly recommend them, because all I have to do is I tear off the packs that I need, and I carry them with me in my pocket. And when it's time to take them, I simply pull out the one that says noon, open it up, take the pills that are in there, and take them with a glass of water. I couldn't recommend it more. A few other key areas that caregivers manage are encouraging regular physical exercise, home safety. They make sure that the house is set up for ease of movement, and then helping to ensure that you're not falling. And then finally, they help in managing transportation to and from appointments, exercises, and social activities. So as you can see, caregivers wear multiple hats. As a sports analogy, they play the role of general manager, coach, and team player. So as general manager, they select the support network players, just like they would do a draft. And then as a coach, they devise the game plan, and as a player, they execute the game plan. And that can take an emotional and physical toll. So it's important that caregivers get time for themselves to relax and de-stress and do something they enjoy. All right, now that we see all the things that a caregiver is and does, let's look at some of the challenges they face. 3 of the major challenges are burnout, emotional strain, and trying to manage day-to-day responsibilities. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to overcome these challenges by any stretch of the imagination. I did want to provide some specific tips and strategies that I got from caregivers, and then also talking to my wife. So let's look at burnout and emotional strain together, since they seem to be related. Some specific strategies all caregivers brought up were self-care or time for yourself. They said you need to prioritize or build time in for yourself so that you can relax and recharge the batteries. They like to do things like exercise. Some like to meditate. Others enjoyed hobbies like music, painting, or dancing. But then some preferred just spending time with friends or being alone by themselves and going shopping or spending time outdoors, maybe going for a walk or just to sit outside and enjoy nature. The next thing they stressed was to join a support group where they could connect with other caregivers and share their stories and get advice. That way they didn't feel like they were alone or out on an island. A few went to local support groups. Some did online groups. And my wife Mary's in a caregiver support group hosted by the Davis Finney Foundation. But all of them suggested that you pick the one that is most beneficial to you. Now, a couple of caregivers recommended counseling or therapy. They said that therapists help them manage stress, anxiety, and depression. They said to ask your primary care doctor for recommendations and then find one you feel comfortable with. So make sure what they stressed was make sure that they match your personality and you feel comfortable talking to them. Time management was another area that they all agreed on. They said it was important to have a realistic schedule that balances caregiving time and personal time. They said when the schedule was out of balance with too much caregiving time, that's when the stress and anxiety levels started to rise. Two of the caregivers who were caring for loved ones with more advanced Parkinson's recommended respite care. Now, this would include things like adult daycare or bringing in a home health aide, which can provide the needed breaks to the caregiver that they need to recharge their batteries. Now, when I asked them how do they manage their day-to-day activities in the house, they had several recommendations. First, they said that organization and planning were key. They used calendars or planners to stay organized so that they could manage the daily tasks efficiently. Two used a whiteboard calendars as well, and they used those to write down daily things that for the patient with Parkinson's. For the few techies, they like to use devices and apps, but I'm going to go into a whole section on those a little bit later, so I'm going to postpone that discussion for a little bit later in the podcast. And then finally, meal planning. That was another strategy they all agreed on. They tried to prepare meals in advance to help save time and energy at the end of a long day. Some of them even used meal delivery services as well to make the burden a little bit lighter on themselves. They also stressed not hesitating to ask for help from family and friends. They said everyone is more than willing to help and it eases their burden. Okay, I hope this gives you a good flavor for who a caregiver is and all the challenges that they face on a daily basis. To me, the moral of the story is continually thank your caregiver for all they do, because it's going to go a long way in helping them stay balanced and not stressed. So please make sure to thank your caregiver. All right, let's identify or build our support team. For those who do fantasy football or baseball, think of this as draft day. In those drafts, people select players based on their positions they play, whether it's quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and so on. Well, we're going to do the same thing here, except we're going to be selecting from 3 position groups. Number 1 is family and friends, then healthcare professionals, and then finally community resources. Okay, let's choose our family and friends. So what's the best way to engage and ask family and friends for support? Well, there actually is an easy to follow 5-step process that I wanted to share with you because it's going to help you, if you follow the guidelines, to build a good, effective team from friends and family. So number 1 is start off with open and honest conversations. Start off helping them understand the realities of Parkinson's. Share the information with them about their family member or friend's condition. Talk about their symptoms, how the disease is progressing, and the challenges that both of you face on a daily basis. Now, as my old manager used to say, give them the really reallys. You don't have to sugarcoat it. It's always best to give them a realistic picture. Talk about how Parkinson's affects your daily lives, because that's going to have a big impact. If they can understand that the impact that Parkinson's takes, then they're going to be more willing to help. And then once they have a good understanding, explain to them the need for their support. Tell them any contributions they can make to the team, no matter how small, can really make a big difference. Once you get buy-in from family and friends to be part of the team, it's time for step 2, identifying their strengths and interests. We all know that we all have different strengths and weaknesses. So you want to try to identify everyone's strengths and things they're interested in. For instance, one person may be great at organizing and planning, and they can help develop a monthly, weekly, or daily schedule of appointments and activities, medication timing. So, for instance, Aunt Sally may be great at providing emotional support and can help as a listener. Sit down and listen to both the caregiver and the person with Parkinson's and just try to empathize with their story. And then Uncle Frank, he may be good at running errands and can get the items that you need to do that on a daily basis to help run the house. So the long and short of it is to ask each family member to do the things based on their skills. Number one, they're more willing to do it and feel confident in doing it. And number two, you can rely on them to do it well. Step 3, that's to create a plan and delegate the tasks, just like a coach creating a game plan. Set up a calendar, and you can use tools like shared calendars like Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar. And there's apps out there as well, like Caring Bridge or Lots of Helping Hands, and they can help you organize and assign tasks. Now, that's just going to help people avoid burnout. And it's also going to let everyone know what they're responsible for. Step 4 is you want to build in flexibility and communication strategies. You want to try to schedule friends and family based on their schedules. Some people may have to work, others may be retired. So try to be flexible. And then once you do that, schedule regular check-ins. So figure out how you're going to communicate with the group. Are you going to do group chats? Are you going to send texts, emails, or are you just going to do it the old-fashioned way and call in on the phone? So find out what works best for everybody. Some people might not like technology and just want to do a phone call. And then finally, in step 5, show gratitude and appreciation. Regularly thank family and friends for their help. Give them progress updates on how the person's doing. This also lets them feel good knowing that they've made a difference in this person's life. All right, now that we have the friends and family on board, how do we enroll the healthcare providers as part of the support team? Now, since there was a simple 5-step process for enrolling friends and family, let's do the same thing for healthcare professionals. Step 1 is you want to build your medical care team. This would include your primary care physician, and they're going to help to manage your overall health and coordinate with specialists and provide referrals when needed. The neurologist or movement disorder specialist, they're specialized in Parkinson's, and they're going to play a key role in helping to manage medication treatments and disease progression. Next up is physical therapists. They can help with exercises to improve mobility, balance, and strength. Now, I personally visited a physical therapist 2 or 3 times, and they were really, really helpful in giving me exercises to address the specific needs that I had at the particular time, whether it be balance, strength, and I still use the things that I learned from them because they give you handouts to take with you. So they also can hook you up with an app that has the exercises as well. The next is an occupational therapist, and they can help with daily living tasks and give you suggestions for home adaptations. Now, I saw an occupational therapist a few months ago, and the reason is I needed some help with my fine motor skills. I was starting to have trouble picking things up or doing things with my left hand. And she gave me specific exercises and, I'll say, quote, toys to use to help improve my fine motor skills. And then she also recommended a weighted glove that I could get off Amazon to help me with the tremor. Finally, a speech therapist. They can provide specific activities to address communication challenges like soft voice, which I had. So I've gone to see the speech therapist twice for soft voice, and then they can also help with swallowing difficulties. So when I've gone to the speech therapist, she really helped me project and increase my loudness. In fact, she's going to be a guest on an upcoming episode here soon. All right, step number 2 then is attend appointments together. This is going to help to ensure that you and the caregiver hear the same things and don't miss things. They can help you ask questions and get clarification. You and your caregiver can take notes to track the takeaways and next steps and document new recommendations or medications. So it's good to have them there because the caregivers can provide their perspective on what they see on a daily basis because I think we're our own worst enemies and we don't always see some of the things that other people see. Step 3 is create a plan. Work with your healthcare providers to create a written care plan that's going to include their goals, the treatment schedules, any dietary and nutrition recommendations that the doctors may have, and physical activity plans. And then you're going to share the plans with the team so everybody understands what needs to be done to help the patient with Parkinson's. Step 4 is get allied health professionals involved. Who are allied health professionals, you're probably thinking? Well, these would include pharmacist, a dietitian or nutritionist, and maybe a social worker or a case manager. And you want to ensure to include them because they have a lot of knowledge and expertise that they can help you with. And then step 5 is follow up on care. And be sure to schedule follow-up routine appointments and monitor progress and share with the team. So those are the 5 simple steps to help you enroll your healthcare providers. All right, now let's look quickly at the final piece of building the support team, and that's getting community resources. And one way to accomplish this is to take advantage of local resources. Connect with a senior or community center in your area. They often have different kind of wellness programs, exercise classes, and social activities. And a number of them today are starting to be tailored to meet the life of someone with Parkinson's and the caregivers as well. Contact local transportation services that can provide transportation to doctor's appointments or social activities, especially for little or no cost. That's going to ease the time spent by the caregiver. That can be some downtime for them. Connect with social workers who can help identify resources such as financial assistance programs, and they can coordinate care services within the community. And then finally, join support groups to share common experiences. Meet others going through similar challenges and make new friends. All right, we've built our support team, and now it's time to figure out how to communicate effectively as a team. So let's discuss some tips and strategies that can be used to help with communication within the support team. First, try and schedule regular meetings. Organize meetings, whether in person, virtually, or over the phone, because you want to keep everyone up to date on the person with Parkinson's and their condition, any changes in their care that may need additional help, and to agree on plans moving forward. Now, I suggest having a short agenda because with some of the key decisions that you need to discuss, because it's going to help keep your discussion focused so that maybe you can keep it to a half an hour with an agenda versus an hour and a half to 2 hours if everybody starts rambling. And a lot of times that way things are missed. This way, if they're on the agenda, you make sure that you cover them. It's going to keep the discussion focused. The next one is often the most difficult and one we all like to avoid, or we walk on eggshells around, and it's discussing difficult topics like finances and long-term planning. So here's a few tips to make the discussions a little easier. For finances, be transparent. Lay out the financial realities and care costs with documents, brochures, spreadsheets. So if you went and visited a long-term care facility, get their brochures, get their costs so that you can compare cost and services between the different facilities. And then discuss budget limits and limitations. Any insurance options that you may have. Do you have long-term care insurance that can help offset the cost of the care? And then any alternative care plans that they may have. So by sharing the financial information, this is going to help the team know where you are and any assistance that may be necessary. And don't be afraid to have a financial planner or elder care attorney come to one of the meetings to talk about long-term care costs or estate planning. Now, this next one ideally should be discussed early in the process with the support team, and that's long-term planning. It's best to start out early with these discussions about long-term care needs and cost. Legal matters such as wills and power of attorneys are also important. And then finally, potentially having to move to either an assisted living facility or another type of skilled nursing care. So if you do that early, then if issues arise down the road, it doesn't become such an urgent issue and you're trying to find some place to put your loved one. Some facilities have buy-ins that you have to buy into and others don't. So, but it's also important to make sure that you include the wishes of the person living with Parkinson's. You don't want them to feel like they've lost control of their life. So make sure everyone is contributing in the decision-making process. Now, another tip is to be sure to document everything, especially for discussions and agreements on caregiving duties, finances, and long-term plans. That's going to help minimize the confusion and ensures everyone is accountable for their assignment. And then ask a volunteer to create a plan or document that has everyone's roles and responsibilities, contact information, medical information such as doctors and phone numbers, emergency contacts, and then share it with the team. So those are some tips and strategies. And now that we built our support team and decided how we're going to communicate, now let's look at some technology tools that can make things easier as your team moves forward to helping your loved one with Parkinson's. Now, actually, when I was doing the research, I was really surprised at the amount of technology available to support your team. And I'll start out with the first one is CareZone. And their purpose is to manage medications, appointments, and caregiving tasks. They have a medication tracker with reminders. They have shareable to-do lists for caregiving tasks, contact lists for doctors, pharmacies, and support teams, and secure storage for medical documents and prescriptions. Now, the reason that CareZone is useful, it helps to track medications and ensures everyone on the support team is up to date on appointments and care plans. The next one is Lots of Helping Hands. It's designed to coordinate care tasks among multiple caregivers. It has a shared calendar, shared appointment where you can schedule appointments, medication times and tasks, and it even has a help calendar to assign specific duties to different members of the support team. And then Lots of Helping Hands is useful because it simplifies the delegation of caregiving responsibilities. Next up is Caring Bridge. They allow you to share updates and communicate with the support team. It features a personal website to post updates about the person's Parkinson's. It has journal entries that you can share for updating people on progress, their health updates or challenges. And it's a scheduling tool to help coordinate caregiving efforts and medical visits. And it's useful because it helps families stay connected and updated in one location so you don't have to repeat information. And I personally used this when my friend John had cancer before he passed away. So I highly recommend it. MediSafe is the next one up, and that's for medication management. It features medication reminders with dosage and instructions, tracks when medicines are taken or missed, and it allows caregivers to receive notifications if medications are skipped, and provides detailed reports for family and doctors. So it's very useful to help maintain accurate medication schedules. Next up is Google Calendar. Its purpose is for scheduling appointments, tasks, and reminders. It has shareable calendars so the entire team can view and add events to the calendar. It sets reminders for medication, appointments, and caregiving tasks, and has color coding for different types of tasks. So there could be a color for doctor's appointments, one for social events, etc. And it's useful because it's a free tool that everyone on the team can easily access. Next up is Cozy, C-O-Z-I, Family Organizer. And it's for organizing schedules and tracking tasks for the team. It has a shareable calendar for appointments and tasks, to-do lists for shopping and caregiver needs, and reminders of important events and accessibility for multiple users. It offers an all-in-one solution for organizing care and tasks. Next up is simpleapp.com, and that's SYMPLE, and that's for symptom and health tracking. It tracks symptoms, medications, mood, and physical activity, and can graph reports to share with the doctors. It's useful because it helps monitor Parkinson's symptoms over time for better health management. Next up is what I talked about earlier, PillPack, and you can get those through Amazon Pharmacy. It's medication organization and delivery. It organizes medications into easy open, pre-sealed daily packs, and it has automatic refills and home delivery, and they also coordinate with doctors and insurance companies. It's useful because it simplifies the process of managing multiple medications so you don't have all these pill bottles sitting around, and it reduces the burden on caregivers. Now, remember earlier I discussed using pill packs. They're a time saver, and they really ensure that you're taking your medications as prescribed. Next up is TaskRabbit. It helps find help for everyday tasks. So it connects you with local professionals who can do tasks like grocery shopping, lawn work, home modifications, and it's useful in helping to ease the burden on caregivers by managing non-medical tasks. Next up is Evernote. Helps organize and store caregiving information. You can create notebooks to store medical records, doctor's notes, and caregiving plans. Add to-do lists for caregiving tasks, and Evernote is useful because it helps keep caregiving records and notes well organized. Next up is a Bridge, and this is actually a really neat tool. It uses AI to record and transcribe conversations with doctors. It records your medical visits if you have permission from your healthcare provider, and it automatically transcribes their conversations for easy review. It also highlights key points like medication changes and care instructions, and it ensures caregivers don't miss any important information during doctor's visits. So the AI will take what the doctor said and then convert it into simple language. Next up is Parkinson's home exercises. Now, if you're having difficulty getting to the gym, this application can be downloaded on iPhones and Androids. It has 50 different exercises that are designed specifically for people with Parkinson's, which I found to be a pretty extensive list. So those are some of the apps and technology that you can use. Now, before we move into the final segment, I wanted to share an offer from audible.com. Now, if you're not familiar with Audible, they're your one-stop source for audio entertainment. They offer an incredible selection of audiobooks across every genre, from bestsellers to new releases, celebrity memoirs, motivation, wellness, business, and more. The Audible app makes it easy to listen to anytime, anywhere, whether you're traveling, cooking dinner, relaxing on the beach, or just going for a walk. New members can trial Audible for free for 30 days and get a free audiobook. 2 of the audiobooks I recommend are A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Future by Michael J. Fox and 10 Breakthrough Therapies for Parkinson's Disease by Dr. Michael Oken. To take advantage of the free trial, visit www.audibletrial.com/liveparkinsons.com. That's www.audibletrial.com/liveparkinsons.com, and I'll leave a link in the podcast description. Now, for complete honesty and transparency, if you decide to take advantage of the free 30-day trial and the free audiobook, Audible pays me a small commission, which I use to support this podcast. So thank you for your support of this podcast. Okay, let's look at some tips and takeaways for building a successful support team. Number 1 is identify key roles. That includes caregivers, medical professionals, family and friends, and community resources. Number 2, clearly establish open communication. Be sure to schedule regular communication to keep all the team members informed and ask for help when additional help is needed. People are usually more than willing to help. And use some of the technology I just discussed to help with communication and tracking. Number 3, delegate tasks. Assign roles based on their strengths of the team members and create a care calendar so everyone understands their responsibilities. Number 4, you want to plan for the long term. Discuss long-term care needs and handle legal and financial issues like wills, power of attorney, and advanced healthcare directives. Then number 5 is involve the person with Parkinson's. Respect their wishes and let them get involved in the decision-making process. Encourage them to maintain their independence. Number 6 is be flexible and adaptive. Monitor progress and make needed adjustments. Number 7, ensure time for primary caregivers. That helps to prevent burnout and resentment. And then finally, celebrate wins, no matter how big or small. As we've explored in this podcast, building a strong support network for someone with Parkinson's is not only essential, but lifts the burden of the caregiver. It's about finding the right people working together. Now remember, Parkinson's is a journey that no one should walk alone. Creating a team that is supportive can make a profound difference in someone's quality of life. If you or someone you know is facing Parkinson's, I encourage you to start building your support network today. Don't hesitate to reach out to family, friends, and community resources. Connect with local Parkinson's support groups. Use the technology tools that I discussed, and I'll include the list of them in the podcast description. They're going to help you stay organized and, most importantly, keep the lines of communication open. Now, remember, you're not alone in this journey. By taking that first step and building your team, you're creating a network of strength, care, and hope. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with others who might benefit, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. Now, together we can support one another in managing Parkinson's and live our best lives. I want to thank you for listening, and I would appreciate if you could go to liveparkinsons.com and sign up for the free monthly newsletter. Thanks again, and I hope to see you on future podcasts.